take off the splash cover, which is about eight of these small 8mm bolts, and 4 of these larger 13mm bolts. And that's to drop out this front splash guard. Dropping down this stabilizer bar, this sway bar. So you see this sway bar right here. It's attached here on the left side, here on the right side. To get this to drop down, you can kind of shift it to the left, shift it slightly to the left, and you'll be able to get it past these bolts. You gotta remove these bolts from these brackets that are holding power steering lines. Here's one in the middle as well. And there's one that's on top of this. You see that? See that? See, there's the alternator right there. You can see the belts on the front of it. And a lot of people, they remove the whole radiator and all the belts just to change out the voltage regulator. Well, if you have small enough hands and you can kind of get your hands up in there. So see that tool? That's what you need to have. So that's a little wrench. It's called a Worth ratchet. Off the back of the alternator, and it's a huge pain to pull off. When I pulled mine off, it ended up cracking, so I've kind of super glued it back together. That's not held on with any bolts. It's just on the threaded fasteners, and so you just have to kind of rock it back and forth to get it off. And so that was a little bit of a pain. We've got this cover which goes over there. Once you pull that off, so you get that out of there, and this is what you're dealing with the bolts, 7mm bolts on the bottom, and you can kind of barely see them if you get a light up in there. So these two are not too hard to locate. The other one, for this top fastener, I was looking for another bolt like this and having a hard time finding it blindly because you can't really see up in there. But really what's holding it on is this. It's a little stud with a fixed nut on it. So what you want to do is you want to find this stud. Take this, get it up in there, and it'll just barely, see, that'll fit on there. You don't have to have a deep socket, and then you can work this thing off there. Once you do that, you pull this out, and a lot of people said, whatever you do, don't push the button, and I didn't know what button they were talking about. Well, this whole middle part is actually slid up when you got it. So this is gonna stick out a little bit. And that's because these brushes, which are in here, these are spring loaded, they're retracted into the body. And whatever you do, don't push this down, because then it makes those things pop out. And that makes it a lot harder to stick it on the back of the alternator and have these things push against the rotor. Otherwise, you need to push these back in and slide this up so that you can get this over the back of the alternator. And also, I've read incidents where other people, they install the regulator and they don't push this button, which means that the alternator won't work until they push this in and click it so that these can pop out and make contact. So install this thing first, make sure it's all well seated, then click. You hear that click? Push this in and let the brushes pop out. You can't just reach up there with your finger and push it in. You need a little bit of leverage. So I just use a really long screwdriver against this brace and just push pretty hard. And that levers and pushes the back, that little button on the voltage regulator, that pushes that in. You can't skip that step, otherwise your voltage regulator will not work. All right, good luck, YouTubers.